The numbers on the grocery receipt swam before my eyes. $80 for milk, bread, and some canned soup? That couldn't be right. Martha, my neighbor, my lifeline since the stroke, just patted my hand, her smile beatific. Oh, Helen, dear, prices are dreadful these days. Everything's gone up. And maybe your memory's playing tricks? It happens after what you've been through. Don't you worry your pretty little head about it. I took care of everything. But worry I did. A cold knot formed in my stomach, tightening with a vague, unwelcome suspicion. Was this kindness costing me more than I knew? Just 3 months ago, my world had tilted sideways. One minute I was reaching for the morning newspaper on the porch. The next minute, the porch was rushing up to meet me, the world dissolving into a confusing gray fog. A mild stroke, the doctors called it. Mild. It didn't feel mild when my left leg dragged like a sack of potatoes, when my hand trembled too much to hold a pen steady, when words sometimes floated just out of reach, leaving me grasping in frustrating silence. My late husband, David, had always been the planner, the worrier, the one who made sure everything was just so. He'd passed 3 years prior, leaving a void that felt wider and deeper now that my own body had betrayed me. My children, Tom in California and Lisa down in Florida, were frantic when they heard. They flew in for a few days, fussing and arranging, their love genuine, but their lives demanding. They couldn't stay. I assured them I'd be fine, that I was a tough old bird. Inside, I felt adrift, vulnerable in a way I never had before. And then, like an answer to a prayer I hadn't dared voice, there was Martha. Martha Jennings, my neighbor for over 20 years. Always friendly, always ready with a wave or a borrowed cup of sugar. Now she stepped up like a guardian angel. She brought casseroles, tidied the house without being asked, her energy a whirlwind of competence that initially felt like a blessing. "Helen, you poor dear," she'd clucked, bustling around my kitchen. "You just focus on getting better. Let me handle the little things. Groceries, mail, paying those pesky bills online. It's no trouble at all, really." If you're listening to this story, thank you so much for being here. Let us know where you're joining us from in the world, and don't forget to subscribe to become part of our growing community. At first, her help was an undeniable relief. My head still felt fuzzy sometimes, and navigating online banking or remembering due dates felt overwhelming. David had always handled the finances meticulously. His files were immaculate, his system logical. But trying to manage it myself now, with shaky hands and a mind that tired easily, felt like climbing a mountain. Martha seemed heaven-sent. She'd sit with me at the kitchen table, sorting through mail, her pen flying across checkbooks, or her fingers tapping away on her tablet. "See, all paid," she'd announced cheerfully, showing me confirmation screens that blurred slightly before my eyes. "You don't need to stress about a thing." I was grateful, deeply, truly grateful. I told Tom and Lisa how wonderful Martha was being, how I couldn't manage without her. They sounded relieved. "That's great, Mom," Tom had said. "Just make sure you're not imposing on her too much." "Oh, nonsense," Martha had chirped when I relayed their concerns. "What are neighbors for? Besides, it gives me something useful to do." Then came the conversation about online access. Martha approached it carefully, her tone full of sweet reason. "Helen, dear," she began one afternoon, pouring me a cup of tea. "You know how most bills are electronic now, and ordering groceries online is so much easier than me trying to remember everything on your list?" I nodded. It made sense. "Well," she continued, stirring her own tea, "it would be so much simpler if I could just manage those things directly for you online. Just temporarily, of course. Just until you're feeling stronger and your eyesight is better. It would save us so much time and confusion with checks and cash." She hesitated, looking earnest. "Maybe, if you felt comfortable, you could share your login information for the bank account? Or perhaps sign a small power of attorney just for handling these daily expenses. I promise I'll keep meticulous records of every penny. A flicker of unease went through me. David's voice echoed faintly in my memory, a conversation from years ago. Never give anyone access to your accounts, Helen. Not unless it's absolutely necessary, and even then, only through proper legal channels. He was so careful, my David. But I looked at Martha's kind, open face. I thought about my frustratingly slow recovery, the way my head still swam sometimes, the burden I felt I was placing on her. Making her run to the bank, deal with paper checks. It seemed archaic, difficult. And calling Tom or Lisa to handle every little bill seemed like an imposition on their busy lives. Martha was right here, offering a simple solution. It was temporary, after all. All right, Martha, I sighed, pushing David's voice away. Just until I'm back on my feet. You're right, it will be simpler. She beamed, patting my hand again. Wonderful! You won't regret it. I'll be your financial guardian angel. She helped me retrieve the necessary information, wrote down passwords in her neat little notebook, and promised to bring over the power of attorney forms the lawyer had drafted for her own affairs, saying we could adapt them. It all felt efficient, helpful. Later that day, after Martha had gone home, humming cheerfully, I looked around my living room. It felt different, quieter. I went to my desk, intending to look over the previous month's bank statement, the one David had always insisted we review together. It wasn't in its usual place in the file drawer. Neither were the checkbook registers or the folder of recent bills. Martha had tidied up my desk earlier, putting everything into neat piles. But now, searching through them, I couldn't find what I was looking for, only older statements, unimportant mail. She promised she'd keep meticulous records. Why did I suddenly feel like I couldn't find anything important anymore? A chill, unrelated to the autumn air outside, crept up my spine. I pushed it away. I was tired, my mind playing tricks. Martha was helping me. I had to trust her. The weeks turned into a month, then 2. My physical recovery plateaued. I could walk short distances with my quad cane. My speech was clearer, but the fatigue lingered, and my confidence remained shaky. Martha's presence, however, became a constant. She was there when I woke up, bringing coffee. She managed my meals, my appointments, my medication schedule, and she managed my money. The flow of information I once had access to dwindled to a trickle, curated entirely by her. Mail often arrived already opened. "Just bills, dear," she'd say brightly, tucking them into her large handbag. "I'll take care of them." Bank statements vanished before I could see them. "All looks fine," she'd report. "No need for you to puzzle over those complicated things." My world began to shrink. Friends who called were often told I was resting or not up to talking. When my neighbor Carol from across the street stopped by with cookies, Martha met her at the door, explaining politely but firmly that I needed absolute quiet. Carol later told me on a brief, hushed phone call, made when Martha had stepped out, that Martha had seemed almost possessive. The calls with my children became increasingly strained. One afternoon, I was excited to video call Lisa and see my granddaughter, Lily. "Oh, Helen, the tablet's acting up again," Martha sighed, fiddling with it uselessly. "And besides, Lisa called earlier. She said Lily has a big school project. They're terribly busy. We shouldn't disturb them." Later, I overheard Martha on her own cell phone in the hallway, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "Lisa, honey, yes, it's me. Oh, she's resting now. Well, I am a bit worried, dear. She seems to be spending rather a lot online lately. Packages keep arriving. I try to talk to her, but she gets quite defensive, insists she doesn't remember ordering things." Yes, It's sad to see her memory slipping like this. Of course, I'll keep a close eye on her finances for you. My blood ran cold. Spending online? Packages? I hadn't ordered anything. I hadn't even seen my credit cards in weeks. Martha was lying, deliberately painting me as incompetent, as losing my mind to my own daughter. The next time Tom called, his tone was different, still loving, but tinged with a new note of concern that felt suspiciously like doubt. Mom, Martha mentioned you bought a new television. Was that really necessary right now? We need to be careful with your savings. Make sure they last. A television? I exclaimed, bewildered. Tom, I didn't buy a television. Martha must be mistaken. Well, she paid the credit card bill, Tom said, sounding unconvinced. Mom, please just listen to Martha, okay? She's looking out for you. Try not to overspend. Your memory, it's not what it used to be. Tears welled in my eyes. My own son. Believing her lies over me. I tried to argue, to explain, but my voice trembled with emotion, the words stumbling, just as Martha had likely described. Martha conveniently entered the room then, taking the phone. Tom? Yes, she's getting a little agitated. Best let her rest now. Don't worry. I have everything under control. Everything felt like it was spiraling away from me. Invisible walls were closing in. Martha controlled my access to money, giving me only a small allowance each week for incidentals. She controlled my access to information, filtering my mail and my calls. She controlled my image in the eyes of my children, portraying me as a confused, spendthrift old woman. I felt like a fly caught in a spider's web, and the spider was smiling sweetly at me, telling me it was all for my own good. Fear began to take root, cold and deep. Fear of Martha. Fear of what she was doing. Fear of being truly alone, disbelieved by my own family. I started paying closer attention, despite the fog that sometimes clouded my thoughts. I noticed Martha wearing a new silk scarf, the expensive kind I knew I couldn't afford on my fixed income. I saw her carrying a designer handbag I'd never seen before. When she brought groceries, the bags seemed lighter, the items cheaper generics, yet the amounts she mentioned deducting from my account seemed higher than ever. One evening, gripped by a desperate need for proof, for something concrete, I waited until Martha had gone home. My hands shaking, I slowly, painfully made my way to the kitchen. I carefully lifted the lid off the trash bin, my heart pounding. And there, underneath coffee grounds and vegetable peelings, was a crumpled credit card receipt. It was from a fancy downtown boutique I hadn't set foot in for years. The card number was mine. The total was over $300. Proof. Cold, hard proof of her betrayal. But what could I do with it? Who would believe me? Martha had poisoned my children's minds against me. I had no access to my accounts, no way to show them the discrepancies. My gaze drifted to the bookshelf in the living room, settling on a framed photograph of David and me on our 40th wedding anniversary. He looked so handsome, his eyes crinkling at the corners, full of love and quiet strength. David. He had always anticipated problems, always had a backup plan. He wouldn't have left me completely unprotected, would he? A memory surfaced, hazy but insistent. A conversation not long before he passed. He had been reviewing some legal documents. "I've set something up, Helen," he had said, his voice serious but gentle. "A special arrangement, just in case. To make sure you're always taken care of, always safe. Mr. Peterson at the law firm knows all about it. It's a safety net. A safety net. A special arrangement. Mr. Peterson." The details were fuzzy, lost in the fog of grief and time. I hadn't paid much attention then, trusting David implicitly. But now, could this be real? Could David have foreseen a situation like this? Could there be help waiting? Unknown to Martha? Hope, fragile but fierce, flickered within me. I needed to find Mr. Peterson's number. David kept an old Rolodex, meticulously updated, in his bottom desk drawer. Martha hadn't touched that, had she? With renewed determination, I shuffled to the desk. My fingers trembled as I pulled open the heavy bottom drawer. There it was, the familiar black Rolodex. I flipped through the cards, past insurance agents and plumbers, looking for L for lawyer or P for Peterson. P, yes. Peterson, John. Peterson and Associates, law offices, and the phone number. My breath caught. The space where the phone number should have been was blank. Not faded, but empty. It looked like the ink had been deliberately scratched away, leaving only a faint indentation on the card. I sank back into the chair, the fragile hope collapsing into icy dread. Martha. She must have gone through the Rolodex. She knew I might try to contact David's lawyer. She had systematically cut off every lifeline. David, I whispered silently, tears blurring the empty space on the card. David, where are you? I need your help. I need your safety net now more than ever. The sight of that scratched-out phone number on the Rolodex card felt like a physical blow. Martha hadn't just insinuated herself into my life. She had actively worked to dismantle my connections to safety, to David's careful planning. The web wasn't invisible anymore. I could feel its sticky threads tightening around me, suffocating me. Despair washed over me, cold and bleak. I forced myself to act normal, hiding the terror that clawed at my insides. I smiled weakly when Martha bustled in, endured her patronizing pats on my arm, pretended to believe her increasingly outlandish explanations for where my money was going. "Another plumbing emergency, dear," she sighed dramatically one day, waving a vague invoice. "These old houses, you know." Another day, it was a hefty service fee for her time managing my affairs, something never discussed before. Each lie chipped away at my remaining savings, and my helplessness grew. I tried to watch her more closely, hoping to catch a glimpse of a bank statement or intercept a piece of mail. But she was cunning, always one step ahead, whisking away papers before I could focus on them, keeping her handbag perpetually zipped and close by. She even started answering my landline phone before I could reach it, screening calls with practiced ease. "Just a telemarketer, dear," she'd lie smoothly, hanging up on what might have been a friend, or worse, my children trying to reach me directly. Martha, meanwhile, grew bolder, more confident in her control. Her cheap costume jewelry was replaced by delicate gold chains. She talked about planning a cruise, a little treat for myself after working so hard. The implication hung heavy in the air, a treat paid for by my dwindling funds. One afternoon, feeling particularly audacious, she decided to make a significant online purchase. Not supplies, not bills, but a high-end laptop computer, shipped directly to her own address, paid for from my main checking account. She likely reasoned I'd never know, or if I questioned it, she could blame my failing memory again. But Martha didn't know about David. She didn't know the depth of his foresight, the intricate safety net he had woven. This transaction, so out of character for my usual spending patterns and flagged as a large electronic purchase to a third party, tripped an invisible wire deep within the systems of the trust David had secretly established years ago. Miles away, in a quiet office downtown, Mr. Thompson, the meticulous senior trust officer who had inherited David Henderson's file from the retired Mr. Peterson, received an automated alert. It highlighted the unusual laptop purchase, cross-referenced against Helen Henderson's recent stroke and the subsequent shift in her financial activity. He frowned, pulling up the detailed file David had insisted upon, complete with notes about Helen's health vulnerabilities and David's specific concerns about potential undue influence or exploitation. David had even pre-programmed alerts for certain types of transactions or sudden deviations from Helen's established, modest spending habits. Mr. Thompson checked the records. Regular, small grocery bills had been replaced by large, vague withdrawals. Several significant online purchases shipped to an address not matching Helen's. Payments made from Helen's account to credit cards Mr. Thompson didn't recognize as hers. A pattern of potential financial abuse was emerging, exactly the kind David had feared. Following protocol, Mr. Thompson dialed my number. Martha answered, her voice syrupy sweet. "Henderson residence, Martha speaking. How may I help you?" "This is Arthur Thompson from Sterling Trust Management," he said formally. "I need to speak directly with Mistress Helen Henderson regarding her account." "Oh, Mr. Thompson," Martha chirped. "So nice of you to call. Helen's just resting now, poor dear. The stroke, you know. She tires so easily. Is there anything I can help you with? I handle all her financial matters now." "No, thank you," Mr. Thompson replied, his tone clipped. "My business is strictly with Mistress Henderson. When would be a good time for her to call me back?" "Oh, it's hard to say," Martha demurred vaguely. "Her energy levels are so unpredictable, and she gets terribly confused by financial talk these days. Perhaps you could just tell me?" "That will not be possible," Mr. Thompson stated firmly. "Please have Mistress Henderson call my office at her earliest convenience. It is imperative." He gave the number and disconnected, his suspicion hardening into certainty. Martha's evasiveness, her attempt to block access, was a massive red flag. "David Henderson was right to be cautious," Mr. Thompson murmured, making a note in the file. "Something isn't right over there. I need to verify Helen's well-being and the status of her accounts immediately, perhaps without prior notice." He decided to send a formal, registered letter requesting an urgent in-person meeting, citing routine trust review procedures. Martha intercepted the registered letter a few days later, her face paling as she read its formal, demanding tone. Sterling Trust Management, an urgent meeting. Her mask of kindness slipped. She knew instinctively that her game was being threatened. The sweetness vanished, replaced by a chilling hostility. That evening, she confronted me, her eyes hard. "Who is Arthur Thompson?" she demanded, waving the letter. "Why is some fancy trust company demanding to see you?" I feigned ignorance, my heart pounding. "Thompson? I don't know the name." "Don't lie to me," she snapped. "Did David set something up behind my back? Some secret account?" Her greed and paranoia were now fully exposed. From that day on, the pretense was over. Martha's control became absolute, bordering on imprisonment. She confiscated my phone, claiming I didn't need it and might call the wrong people. She had the internet disconnected, citing the expense. My television viewing was restricted. She locked the doors from the inside, pocketing the key. The threats began, whispered venomously when she thought no one could possibly overhear. "You breathe a word of this to anyone, Helen, and I'll make sure your children know you've completely lost your mind. I'll tell them you're incompetent, a danger to yourself. They'll have no choice but to put you in a nursing home. You hear me? A state-run place. You'll lose this house, lose everything. Is that what you want? To die alone in some miserable facility?" The fear was paralyzing. I felt utterly trapped, isolated, disbelieved by my own children, threatened by the woman who held the key to my front door and controlled every aspect of my existence. The image of a bleak, impersonal nursing home haunted my waking hours and my dreams. Had David's plan failed? Had Martha outsmarted even his careful preparations? This was the lowest point, the deepest darkness. I huddled in my armchair, tears streaming down my face, feeling completely, utterly defeated. Then my gaze fell again on the photograph of David and me. His steady eyes seemed to meet mine across the years. I remembered his quiet determination, his unwavering belief in finding solutions. "Davy," I whispered, touching his face on the cool glass. "What do I do?" And I remembered his words, spoken so often when I faced a challenge. "Whatever happens, Helen, don't you ever give up. There's always a way. Always." A spark ignited within the despair. No. I would not let Martha win. I would not end up in some dreadful institution because of her greed. I had to trust David. I had to find a way. My mind raced, sifting through memories. And then it came to me. The emergency phone. Years ago, David had bought a simple pay-as-you-go cell phone, programmed with just a few key numbers. The kids, 911, and his lawyer. He kept it charged and hidden in his old fishing tackle box in the attic. "Just in case, Helen," he'd said, "for emergencies." An emergency phone Martha wouldn't know about. Hope, sharp and urgent, surged through me. I had to get to that phone. I began to formulate a plan, forcing myself to appear more subdued, more compliant, more defeated than ever to lull Martha into a false sense of security. I nodded meekly, ate what she gave me without complaint, pretended to doze in my chair. Inside, I was waiting, watching, praying for an opportunity. My chance came 2 days later. Martha announced she needed to go to the pharmacy and then run a few errands. Errands likely involving spending more of my money. "You be good now," she warned, locking the door behind her with a decisive click. The moment her car pulled away, adrenaline flooded my system. Every movement was an agony, my weak leg protesting, my breath coming in ragged gasps. But David's face, his words, propelled me forward. I gripped my cane, pulling myself up the narrow attic stairs, each step a monumental effort. The air upstairs was thick with dust. I located the old metal tackle box in the corner, fumbled with the rusty latches. And there it was, the cheap plastic phone, nestled amongst lures and fishing line. My hands shook so violently I could barely hold it. I pressed the power button. "Please, please have a charge." The screen flickered to life, showing 2 bars of battery. Enough. I scrolled through the contacts. Lawyer. My finger hovered over the call button. "Please let Thompson be the current lawyer handling David's affairs. Please let him answer." I pressed call. It rang once, twice. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Sterling Trust Management, Arthur Thompson speaking." Relief washed over me, so potent it nearly buckled my knees. "Mr. Thompson!" I gasped, my voice thin and reedy. "This is Helen Henderson, David Henderson's wife. I need help. Please, you have to help me." In hurried, frantic whispers, I poured out the story. The stroke, Martha's initial kindness turning into control, the lies, the isolation, the theft, the threats, the scratched-out number, the intercepted letter. Mr. Thompson listened patiently, his voice calm and reassuring, occasionally asking clarifying questions. He already suspected much of it, but hearing it directly from me, hearing the fear in my voice, confirmed his worst fears and galvanized him into immediate action. "Mrs. Henderson." "Helen," he said, his voice firm but kind. "Thank you for your courage in calling me. David put measures in place for exactly this kind of situation. I need you to stay calm. Do not let Martha know you have spoken to me. I am contacting your children immediately with irrefutable proof of what has been happening. I am also arranging for legal counsel and, if necessary, authorities to intervene. We are coming. Help is on the way. Can you stay safe until then?" "Yes," I whispered. "She'll be back soon. I'll hide the phone." "Good. We'll handle it from here. You are not alone anymore, Helen." Hiding the phone back in the tackle box, I scrambled back downstairs just minutes before Martha returned, laden with shopping bags. I resumed my place in the armchair, trying to mask the turbulent hope and terror swirling within me. Less than 2 hours later, there was a firm knock at the door. Martha, annoyed at the interruption, opened it and froze. Standing on the porch were Mr. Thompson, looking imposing in his suit, a sharp-looking woman he introduced as a lawyer from his firm, and behind them, my children, Tom and Lisa, their faces pale and grim. Lisa rushed past Martha and knelt by my chair, tears streaming down her face. "Mom! Oh, Mom, we are so sorry. We should have known. We should have listened." Martha sputtered, trying to regain control. "What is the meaning of this? Helen is unwell. You're upsetting her. I am her caregiver." Mr. Thompson stepped forward, holding a thick file. "Mr. Jennings," he said, his voice ringing with authority. "We have substantial evidence indicating that you have been systematically exploiting Mrs. Henderson's vulnerability, misappropriating her funds, and isolating her from her family. We have bank records detailing numerous unauthorized transactions, including the recent purchase of a laptop delivered to your address. We have records of alerts triggered within the parameters of a protective trust established by the late David Henderson, specifically to prevent this kind of abuse." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Furthermore, Mrs. Henderson herself has confirmed your actions." He even mentioned a final, clever detail David had arranged. A secret security question based on their first trip together, required for any manual wire transfer over a certain amount, a question Martha could never have answered, which had ultimately blocked her largest attempted withdrawal and confirmed Thompson's suspicions. Martha's face crumpled. The color drained away, replaced by a mask of pure fury and desperation. "She's lying! She's confused! The stroke affected her mind!" "No, Martha," Lisa said, standing up, her voice shaking with anger. "We were the confused ones. We believed your lies, but Mr. Thompson showed us the proof, the bank statements, your spending. We see everything now." Tom stepped towards Martha, his expression hard. "You took advantage of our mother when she was most vulnerable. It's unforgivable." The confrontation was swift, decisive. Martha wasn't physically removed by police that day, but the legal team made it clear she was to leave the premises immediately, return any keys and property belonging to me, and cease all contact. She would face significant civil action to recover the stolen funds, and Mr. Thompson assured us they would cooperate fully with any criminal investigation the district attorney might pursue based on elder abuse statutes. Her face a mask of rage and humiliation, Martha grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The sound echoed through the house, not with menace, but with the sweet ring of liberation. The aftermath was a whirlwind of relief, apologies, and practicalities. Tom and Lisa were deeply ashamed, showering me with hugs and tearful regrets. "We should have been here more, Mom," Tom said gruffly, his eyes wet. "We let you down." "We're here now," I said, patting his hand. There was damage to repair, trust to rebuild, but seeing their genuine remorse, I knew we could. Mr. Thompson and his team worked efficiently, securing my accounts, changing locks, reviewing the full extent of the financial damage, and initiating legal proceedings against Martha. The news spread through the neighborhood like wildfire, and Martha faced the immediate consequences of social ostracism, her reputation ruined. Justice, swift and satisfying, was served. Sitting in my quiet living room a few weeks later, Surrounded by my children, who now called daily and visited frequently, I felt a profound sense of peace, tinged with lingering sadness, but overshadowed by gratitude. Gratitude for David, my wonderful, careful husband, whose love and foresight had reached across time to protect me. His safety net hadn't just been about money, it was about ensuring my dignity, my safety, my voice. We decided, together, that selling the house was the best path forward. Too many shadows lingered there. Lisa invited me to move to Florida, offering a sunny annex attached to her home. I accepted. A new chapter, closer to family, filled with warmth and sunshine, felt right. As I packed away David's photos, I held on to the one from our anniversary. His eyes still smiled at me, full of love. He had kept his promise. He had made sure I was always taken care of, always safe. The ordeal had been terrifying, but it had ended not in defeat, but in vindication, thanks to the enduring power of love and the quiet strength of careful planning. Thank you for joining Helen on her path to justice and safety. If this story touched you, please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories of resilience and protection. We value your presence in our community. See you next time. Goodbye.